Did you?
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our second workshop for the 2021-2022 budget. Recording is active. We are ready to go. So Desiree, why don't you take it?
You take it.
So based on our discussions that we had the other day and all the one-on-ones that we had the week before, we are currently where we're at with the tax cap. We are over by just about $200,000. That's with me recommending using fund balance, also known as reserve. That's a little bit more than I feel comfortable using, just because, you know, if something were to come up, we may be short. Wish I printed out the email I sent. CJ, do you have the email I sent you that you asked about with the percentage? I think.
Yeah, one was 2.74 and 6.22.
So we're at 2.4% over. The amount that the dollar figure that we are allowed to go over is, I put the email, I'm sorry. I'm doing this from my home now, so I don't have access to everything. Is less than is 196 less. So my other recommendation was if we use the more comfortable write-offs for the tax levy, by using the fund, also known as reserves, then we would be at 6 point something percent. These sound like high percentages, but you're not talking a crazy amount. It's not like you know, if you put it in terms of dollar figures versus percentages, it's kind of balances out a little bit. But I did take a look at what we did estimate. I did give you some suggestions for you to consider looking at if you wanted to keep it under the tax cap. The other thing to remember is next year's budget tax cap is based on this year's budget. So if we do go over the tax cap this year, it's quite entirely possible that we won't next year, because this year includes, excuse me, the leave payout for the employees that are retiring, which is almost equal to the amount that you're over. Comfortable reserve amounts. So I basically need some direction from you, because like I said in my email, I'm required to have to you the preliminary budget by March 31st of this year, of every year actually. So I just need to know what you want to do. Are you comfortable where we're at? Do you want to use less reserves because we want to be more comfortable that way? Do you want to look at the suggestions I made and make amendments based on that? You want to do a little bit of both? It's your
All of the above, really, in my opinion. So thanks for that summary. I think the first thing we should do is go through your recommendations one by one.
Some of these are out there recommendations, though.
I know, I get it, and that's why we need to either include them or exclude them. So why don't we start with A 1120 sales tax increase estimate by 50K. I don't think that's unreasonable at all, considering where we are with the pandemic, where we expect to be in the next 12, actually 14, 15 months.
I think we were conservative at that number.
We were. What do you guys think?
I agree.
I agree with that one too.
Chris Jesus?
Yes, I agree.
All right, great. Well, that was easy. Building permits, for the same reason, I don't disagree with that one either.
I mean, Gary gave you a number based on what he believes was coming into the office within the next fiscal year. He always unders budgets, which is safe to do because it is a revenue and you don't want to over budget a revenue.
Is 50 too aggressive though? Should we be looking at that at 35 maybe, or?
Sure. You know, I
just want, if everybody else, you know what I mean? Because I don't know 50, if 50 with, I'm not talking about sales tax, but the building permits. If that is,
what was 25
it's too aggressive.
Huh? I don't have enough real estate.
We have budgeted for building pitch
230.
280K, 250K.
Yeah.
So far this year, we have brought in 390K. Last year, we brought in 342. The year before that, 470.
Oh, all right. Then we're.
I think we could go up to 50.
I agree.
Now, that's all I needed to hear. We're good.
Okay.
Anyone disagree with that? All right. I think 1620.412 is a no-brainer. Wait, Desiree.
I have to sneeze. Give me 1 second, please.
Bless you.
Please.
Okay.
He's got to leave the camera. Leave.
You could have just muted and turned the camera
I
on.
know, I know.
All right, so
Done this.
1620.412, I think that's a no-brainer, that suggestion to just put
Okay.
that off. Does anybody disagree with that?
That's the thing that Desiree, that really needed. I would leave that there for now.
Well, what I was gonna finish with is
What?
I think we can go ahead and do what she's suggesting, but then use contractors for things that we really need throughout the year, like painting the meeting room. For
Right.
example. In other words, replace.
Nice. I'm sorry.
That's what that is. That we changed it to a contractor.
We did.
Yeah,
We
but we
changed it
never
to a
took the money out.
contractor.
Yeah, we
We
never
did.
took the money out. So,
Yeah, we never took the money out. You gotta take that out.
No, that would be the
Take it out.
contractor amount.
Right. What are you taking out if we're just gonna, the only thing we're saving is benefits, which wasn't in the number to begin with.
Correct.
Yeah,
So
but I
I
think that
still,
number, we're not gonna do everything all at once, right? So why have such a high number is what I'm saying. It's gotta be changed somehow. When they're gonna pay one guy 29,000 to just paint.
All right, why don't we do this?
We'll do a,
Let's take it out and then revisit it
okay.
for now. We'll take it
How
out.
about, can I leave it for now, go through everything, and if we're still short, then come
and
back?
reduce, yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna make, in my opinion, we're not gonna make the cap. So let's just do things realistically.
Okay, so you wanted to take it out, everyone else wants to leave it in. What do we want to do?
I say leave it for now. Let it be the
Why?
last. thing we
Okay, so
touch.
now we'll leave it. Okay, fine.
That's my opinion.
All right, great. 3620.100 then.
so and again, this is one of out there. I don't even know if it's, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I'm not crazy about that idea.
Me neither, me neither.
I personally am fine with it because I think coupled with that, we can also take out of the budget, getting a new truck for the building department at the same time. So it would work out to be a bigger savings than just the 35 grand. We can actually hold off on getting the vehicle. Now, saying all that, I'm not opposed to raising the, going over the tax cap this year, but the more we can cut now, I
Well,
think the better off we are.
if we're
So-
increasing 2555 by 50K, we're saying that we anticipate a good number of building permits for the fiscal year.
Exactly.
And if we don't staff appropriately, or at least staff with the minimal amount of people that we currently have, I
No,
don't
we
think
lost
we can
someone.
possibly handle that amount of work.
We lost Jesus.
Make a note of it.
But we're gonna bring it back, building permits are gonna be back to a level that they were prior to this year, which was, to me, an outlandish year.
Right.
So we've always been at 2. Would it kill us to be at 2 for 6 months of the year?
And we've been at 3.
Just this last
No,
year?
Just this last year. We hired them right before the pandemic.
So I
Right.
don't think it's a stretch to wait 6 months just to save the 35,000. And if we see that we're getting more in sales tax, I mean, you can always do it earlier, but I don't think that's a bad suggestion.
I don't think it's a bad suggestion. I'm just not comfortable with it personally. Especially if we truly anticipate more building permits than we're budgeting for right now.
I thought we revisit it. Because there's other suggestions on the list.
Okay,
But we've already knocked off 100,000, so now we're only over by 96,500.
Okay, I was cut off, sorry.
So
What are we?
we were just talking about you.
All right,
Okay.
fine.
wait, Des, the 96.5, that's over without the cushion in the reserve, right? In
That's
this.
over without the cushion.
So we really need to find 450,000,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Which is what I think we should be aiming for, not the 200.
Not, yeah. don't really-
I
I'm
think
not
that's a
comfortable.
wonderful thing, yes.
If you're not comfortable with the reserve monies, I would rather be looking at this as a bigger nut that we need to make some deep cuts with. We're gonna still raise the tax cap. We're gonna still go over the tax cap, but whatever cuts we can make in the meantime, I think we should just try to do. So
Okay.
that's the only reason I suggested, I was okay with the B&G contractual and the BD personal services with 35 and holding off on those things for the time being. So, like I said, we could revisit it. It's up to you guys, but that was my suggestion too. Hold off till December. It would save 35. It actually saves more than that, doesn't it though? It's 35 with the workers' comp liability, payroll taxes and whatnot? Or is that really another line
No,
item?
that's just salary.
That's
That's
just
just that.
salary.
So
That's salary.
technically that 35.
I wasn't gonna do all
goes
that
to
other
the-
math until you guys said yes or no.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
So technically, for that, technically that 35, Tara, would it be safe to say it's probably closer to 44,
Yeah, roughly.
right? Roughly with everything I just mentioned.
Mhm.
So that's not bad. That's not bad.
Well, let's see what else we can cut and then
Okay.
come back.
All right, there's 5110.101.
So same story. Again, this is one of those out there's not hiring till I wrote December because I was just being consistent with half a year, but maybe November since, you know, the snow does start, maybe November.
This one I think we can do.
The person that we plan on hiring, I believe, is someone who already knows our department and our system. So the training I can't see being extensive. So that's why I mentioned it.
Yeah,
This one I think we can do.
I know, but the only problem with that is that somebody's already kind of lined up for the position. And that would probably make it a problem because they're leaving one post to come here. If you wanted to hold off on, is the water opening on this list?
There is no, yes, it is. Yes, it
It
is.
is.
It is. It's down, yes,
All the way at the bottom.
an FC and GC, because it splits in half.
Oh yeah, you see, that's the confusion sets in.
Sorry.
So, no, it's not you, it's on us, me, but, that we don't have anybody lined up for. So if we had to save that for the time being, we could. And let me ask you, Mickey's payout wouldn't be till next year's budget?
No, it's this year's, because
This year.
his
Really?
employment will end May 31st.
Okay,
So it's in this year's proposed budget.
okay.
You're giving him to work an extra month?
If you want to, so that's funny you asked that, because if you do, then he gets a whole nother year's vacation.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
'Cause they get credit with that in June, and you'd have to extend his contract, so. Yeah, so going on the 31st is actually a nice thing for us, just saying.
Should leave earlier.
We could
Okay.
act with a temporary for in the interim if we had to.
So, I mean, if we could talk all three positions at the same time if you want, so we don't bounce around.
Right.
Or we can move on to the other things I recommended and then,
Let's talk about all three now.
okay.
So, we mentioned the first two openings, and then the other opening is with Gene Mundy.
Yeah, so Jean plans on leaving in the end of October.
Okay,
So the reason she was originally going to leave in September, my understanding was, but we do a billing in October. She said she would stay until October so that she could do the billing cycle with the new person that we hire off the list. Now, I had mentioned, if it's okay for me to say to Andrew, about how maybe it might not be necessary for this person to work 40 hours a week.
I agree.
Michael and I had always talked about that when it came time for Jean to retire, that position would be evaluated. Because although it's busy those 3 times of the year when we are doing the water billing, and then in the month of May, April and May for the relevy, we don't know how busy it is the rest of the time of the year. We'd have to defer to Mickey. She does go home for an hour every day for lunch. So she is currently only working 35 hours a week. When some of your staff doesn't go home for lunch, they do work straight through. So I don't know, it's really something you'd have to, I did not put that on here, because I didn't really know how to word it without getting too wordy.
So how much
Anything
less-
over, anything over 20 is considered full-time with civil service
Oh, okay.
benefits, so it's not like you're gonna save any money there. But,
How much time you saying reducing, you think?
well, I was gonna say either 30 or 35.
That's what I had listed on my list to cut it to 35. As a
But you
safe
did speak to
number.
Mickey.
Yeah, and I spoke to Mickey, but I kind of got the answer that I expected out of Mickey was that he can't live without.
Anita.
Yeah, he needs a person there. I think if we were able to not fill the position till the new year for starters, but I also think whoever we hire, we should be bringing in at less hours. I don't think a 40-hour person at the water department, I don't know if that's necessary. Considering, Desiree, you can attest to the amount of work that your or our staff, the village clerks, kind of back end on the water and sewer department in terms of Jessica and what she does on a regular basis. Then hopefully that all ends if we bring somebody in much younger who can produce the work, but.
I don't think age really has anything to do with it.
Oh, yeah. You're being weighed now, you're being.
Took that class.
Yeah.
Recorded meeting that's gonna go out on the website, so.
Oh, there you go.
And
Okay.
I would not say to wait to hire the person until the new year because they do need to be trained by Gene. Because
Yeah.
it is, we only do triannual billing at this time. And you're right, Jessica, my office has to receive the money because Gene's office can't bill the money and receive the money because of double work.
Mhm.
But we also do get a lot of phone calls, people calling and saying, how much is my water bill? Well, they could be calling Gene and asking that, not calling, being transferred to us to answer that question, things like that. We just received the money, that's it. So you're right, Andrew, I think some of the comments you made were right. The person would have to pass a civil, would be hired off a civil service list. So it's not like we're just hiring whoever we want to hire. The person will obviously had to have taken a test to qualify for the job. It is a specific job. It's not just clerk, it's billing control clerk. So it has some specificity to it. I don't know if I said that right.
That's
Yes, you did.
Thank you. But I would say maybe start with 35 and then let Mickey justify why
Mm.
back up to 40.
35 is fine, but I agree with you. You need the person here to learn how to bill, or else you're not gonna be able to bill.
Right.
Which
Correct.
would be very bad.
No one else is gonna be around to teach them.
Right, so there'll be an overlap for the month of, he wanted her to come in, or him, depending on the list, who's on the list, to start the middle of September because the billing goes out, or maybe even start September. I forget exactly when he wanted her to start, but there have to be some type of overlap, obviously. It is October 1st, so the person would have to come in September to do the uploading from the meter readers and all that other stuff.
Yep.
But I agree. I say 35 and then let him justify why it would go up. I would also suggest enforcing the contract because she should only be getting a half-hour lunch.
That's something else we can push
Because
forward.
she is a union employee with the water sewer department and she falls under the same.
Good.
Which is only a half hour?
The union contract says half-hour lunch and then a 15-minute break at the end of the day. Before the union contract went to effect, she was taking the hour lunch and she did go to her daughter's house, which is right up the road from the building. So no one was ever answering the phone between 12 to 1 unless one of the guys were there to grab the phone. I'm not a fan of going home for lunch. You guys give paid lunches. I think that means that although you should be able to have your lunch, you're being paid to have your lunch, so you should be accessible, in my opinion. I know the Department of Labor requires you to allow an employee to have, a lunchtime where they're not being interrupted. You're getting paid to have lunch though.
All
So,
right, I think, let's just start with 35. We'll go from there.
okay.
What do you think the cost savings would be taking 5 hours a week away? I mean, and it really is just for the second half of the budget year for us.
It
What do
is.
you-
I'm gonna put that all together for you guys tomorrow. I have like a calculator and all that here at home, and I didn't want to run into the issue we ran into last week with Tim in one room, me in the other, and all the echoing.
Yep.
So I'm limited, and I apologize for that. I can only do what I can do. But what I'll do is I will put together another long CJ email to you guys. Spell it all out for you, okay?
And can maybe see the difference with if it was down to 30 and him walk up to 35 maybe?
I'll do a 30 and a 35, and I'll do starting September 1, and starting September 15. I don't know when he wants her to start, or him. Okay,
Okay.
All right, 9909, 102.
Where are we?
so do you
This
want to
is what
finish
he's-
the other personnel issues or no?
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry, I
No,
thought that was the
yeah.
third one.
That was not the third one. That one
Oh,
was,
my apologies. Then go to the third one, please.
it's okay. Like I didn't want, yeah. So the third one would be replacing Blake's position, which is currently vacant. Again,
Blake.
consistent with The other two positions I just threw out there. This is one of the far out there ones, December 1, which would be a 6-month employment for into the new year instead of 12 months.
Are we going to be, if we're down a guy in his department, and either you or CJ could probably answer this more, but will we be incurring at that point overtime to kind of replace him in the rotation? I don't know. I mean,
Well, a
at
new
that-
guy, I'll start, the new guy wouldn't be on his own rotation wise in the beginning anyway.
okay,
Be a trainee position. Unless we're finding someone experienced, which since we've
You
taken,
need to be licensed. You need to be
That hasn't
licensed to operate. You don't have to get a license to operate on your own. You need a year to get a license. So the longer you hold off hiring somebody, the longer you're going to have before you have somebody actually working the rotation. That's how it's gonna work. You hold off 6 months, it's gonna be 18 months minimum before you have a licensed operator.
well, we
That's-
have hired in the past because we have the trainee position through civil service, you can hire a trainee and then you train them for them to get their license while employed.
Yeah, it takes a year though. You have to work a year. They won't give you a license before a year.
No, you're right. That's why we do the trainee for the year.
Mhm. So that's what I'm saying though. So if you wait 6 months to hire somebody, you're 18 months without a person that can run the plant. I'm just letting you know that. I'm okay with it if we can get by with it. But it just exacerbates the time frame.
I mean, if you guys are anticipating going over anyway, this might be one of those
Yeah, I
positions
don't think it's
I want to delay on because of the training aspect that CJ brought up.
If you want to get back 15 grand, instead of jeopardizing somebody for a longer period of time without a license, I would take back painting the fire hydrants for the 15 grand. And make
Oh,
that-
I had that on my list anyway.
It's
I
actually.
think that go one more year.
Yeah.
So
I had that on there anyway to take it out.
Yep.
So just trade them off that way.
Okay, so we're gonna keep Blake's replacement hired
Yeah.
on or about June 1.
Yeah.
Are we all saying yes?
Yeah, we're gonna kill the fire hydrant painters for one more year.
Okay, so let me
As
go,
much as it's a great community thing, it just, we have to make these
Right.
choices sometimes.
so we're gonna kill FC 8310.102.
Whatever, what she said.
What was it?
What I said. That was the 1440 that we budgeted for laborers for a couple of months to do hydrant maintenance.
Mm,
So if we're all making sacrifices, let's circle back to my buildings and ground contractual. I appreciate, Jessica and I spoke about it. We appreciate those that supported the idea. And we agreed that with the caveat that we really seriously consider it for the next budget, we will continue as we are doing, especially since Pat has really stepped up as department head for this particular issue. He's taken on a lot of stuff that John and I used to do, mostly Jessica and John, to be honest. So we would be okay with removing this from the budget item this year, as long as we can really discuss it again next year, because it is something, when Pat isn't,
Yeah,
chief again,
absolutely.
I think we got him for 2 more years, maybe. We appreciate the support, and we're gonna still keep the list like Tara and I discussed, but we're okay with giving it up.
Okay,
Thank
as long as you're sure with that.
Thank you for that sacrifice,
Yeah, I am, because like I said, Pat really has stepped up, being the department head for the building. As much as he can, because he does have his full-time commitments, but he's gotten the 3 quotes for the door replacements already, which him and I are gonna work on this week. He's got the guys coming to look at the box, which is now split in half outside, so when you come in, you can tell me it's really broken. So yeah, he has stepped up more than has been experienced in the past, so yes.
Okay. All right, then I'm good. with
Okay.
that. Yep.
Very good.
All right.
You ready, Des?
Yep.
Okay, so the next one is 9909-103, the reserve road improvement.
Yeah, so reserve funds, you typically fund when you have the money to do so. So these I added on here because, again, you may not really think you have the money to do so this time if we're trying to not
No.
our fund balance.
The only one I question is the reserve for the highway department equipment run down too low? Is that why we're having to put the 50K in, or is it an okay
No.
position, then we can get rid of it for a year?
No, I mean, we got rid of it the current year that we're in, we did get rid of it. We have, that was a fund that we created when the highway department came over from the town. It was never in existence previously. And it's there just in case some big equipment purchases come up that you don't want to actually raise the tax levy for. I don't have the most recent treasurer's report with me to tell you how much is actually in that fund. I'm sorry.
Was it with the email that you sent us? The general, a consolidated, Amdor Park?
No.
No. It would have been in the treasurer's report that Jessica would have sent you earlier this month. On the cover of that, it tells you how much money is each of your reserve funds. I want to say off the top of my head, there's about 200 and change in there.
That's not really enough. What is that sweeper gonna cost for next year?
200 and change.
Yeah.
But again, it's a reserve fund, so you only,
You have 346.
oh, see, I was slightly off.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tara.
You're welcome.
46 in equipment reserve for the highway department.
346.
346, yeah.
So can we, I mean, what if we start
So-
by axing that in half?
Yeah.
The 50 and the 25 is half.
Yeah,
No, she's got HD decreased by 50, decreased.
Yeah, it's
by 50.
150 right now.
yeah, I'm recommending we cut it in half,
Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh,
not
Okay.
do away with it.
No, I wasn't looking to do away with it either because.
Yeah, no. I'm recommending to cut it in half,
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so we will take that 50.
except the road improve. The road improve, I recommended doing away with completely.
Oh,
The,
really?
the equipment recommended cutting in half.
The 50.
so we're talking about saving 75,000?
Yes.
Yes,
Between the two, yeah.
I'm good with that.
All right, you're up to-
I like that nice number, huh?
Oh, we're up to 219. We're getting there.
All right. So we're all in agreement on that.
so now we're almost at my comfort level, right?
Yes.
Almost.
Almost.
If the comfort level is 4 and change and we're down 219. And we're at 196, so we're 10,000 more and then we're back to the, yeah, right?
Yes.
So we did FC and GC already. Well,
I'll give you the rest.
Yeah.
What?
I'll give you the rest of what you need.
Okay.
And you can take it from the valve study. We can wait another year for that. It's not an emergency.
So the
Mhm.
470,
471, 470, leave it alone. Don't touch
Okay,
the
four-
road.
yeah, don't touch 470. We may need to,
okay, so 471, you want to, let me just get on my screen and it's only half a screen. so-
Instead of 100,000, put 25 in there and we can start something with that and move it to the following year's budget.
yeah, I like that. I don't like taking it away
Okay.
altogether. I think that's a good idea.
And then
That's the
get-
master plan study, right?
Yeah, that's for the valve. So we
Yeah.
can start something with 25 near the end of this budget cycle and then move it into the following year and finish it.
There
So
you
you're talking about 75,000
Yeah,
savings. Nice job. Nice job.
so that gives you basically 300
Right,
so far.
470.
so those were my recommendations. Did you all have anything else that you saw that you thought we may be able to reevaluate? So right now, just to summarize, we made those changes. We're gonna go to my more comfortable reserve fund usage. And then we're almost at about where we're at now. So we're at about a 2 to 3, 2.5, 2.25, 2 3/4 to a 3% increase. If we're looking at off the top of my head without doing the math,
Without depleting the reserves, which is.
without depleting the reserve, right?
Which in my opinion is reasonable. I mean, that's maybe just a touch more than cost of living and that's a reasonable number.
Yeah, and it's especially it's reasonable because we're providing more services to it. We're doing things with the revitalization and then and comp plan committees. We're doing the land preservation plan. We put a lot of money in for well rehab. So we're doing a lot of things that enhance services. So it is reasonable.
Desiree, if we hold off another year on just getting the building department vehicle, is that another 40 grand that we could pocket? Right? Is that what we budgeted in building?
45.
45.
But he did think it was gonna come in under that, right? Didn't he say that?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
let's just say it's 40.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that the vehicle he wanted to replace was his because it's used the most, I think. Like I said, we bought those 3 vehicles at the same time, which is
His or John's?
to do, huh?
John's,
It was John's?
John.
Okay.
John's has all the problems.
Right,
Oh, okay,
that's the one that goes off-road the most.
right.
What's the maintenance cost? Because you want to balance that out.
Well,
too.
that's it. I mean, if it's gonna cost more to maintain it and repair it than it is to replace it.
So it was 4,500 maintenance, keeping the truck, and cut it in half. I think it was 2,500 if we got a new truck. Is that right, Desiree?
Yes. Yes, we were gonna make, he originally had budgeted 453.
Yeah, 4,500, but he said if you give us the new truck, it'll be 2,500.
Right.
Correct, correct. And we ended up making it 2,500.
So if we don't do the new truck, we raise that by a couple grand, but
We put it up by $2,000 more, yeah.
That's an area we can hold off on too with that vehicle. And have we ever in the past taken the fire vehicle and given that to the,
we've done it with a lot of departments.
okay, I mean, that, because they've got a new truck, they've got a new chief's vehicle coming in, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
So-
believe they wanted to keep that chief's vehicle and swap out the,
Fire police vehicle.
that is 8 years old, I think it is. It's the older.
Yeah, that's the fire police vehicle they want to use for classes, that kind of thing. They want to get rid of that.
Correct. I mean, we do, we do use our vehicles to a very long shelf life. So it's not like we're just saying we need a new vehicle, we need a new vehicle. If you're not gonna delay hiring the replacement building inspector, I would recommend not delaying buying the truck then.
Well, me,
But
I
remember,
was
we're
in
gonna
favor
sell-
of doing both. I was in favor of delaying the hiring of somebody because for at least that 6 months and then hiring them in January, at least then, by then, we'll have a head building inspector in place. They'll have their feet completely acclimated and ready to roll, and then we can bring somebody else in, and that would give us some cost savings, and then also we could push off the purchase of a vehicle until the, because those things don't come in overnight anyway. So if we ordered it in January, we're not gonna see it, or
No, I
with
think
his
we'll
highway
get rid
department
of a lot.
vehicle. When we
Your
got
building
that,
inspector vehicle, you'll get much quicker than your
okay,
or chief.
it's just off-roading. It's nothing with any kind of bells and whistles.
There's no radio.
I'm split on that. I think that if we're gonna have a brand new head building inspector, and we're also going to have an increase in building permits, meaning an increase in work, I don't think that's the time to drop a person even for 6 months. I'm okay with not getting the vehicle right away because I think we can stretch that out, especially if we increase repairs by a couple of $1,000s, but that's my.
The only reason I brought it up is like what Tara was saying. We survived with 2 for a very long time. Now we've added to their workload. I will say this, with all the code changes and everything else we've been doing. But
Yeah, but the uptick in the work, the $100,000 overage was not because of code change. It was because of the threat of a moratorium.
yes,
Everybody
Yeah.
rushed to get their building application. I just don't think you're gonna see that volume this year.
yeah.
That's-
I don't know, the
think so.
volume, I don't know, the volume for the last 3 years has been the same amount.
It has not been $400,000 over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
This year was 100,000 over the norm.
For me,
So-
holding it off and we're gonna save some money. If we're looking at saving, what are we talking about? 35 you've got listed here and then some on top
Andrew,
of
why
that?
don't we see, I don't know, Des, how much work is it for you to figure out where we're at with all of this? To see if we need further cuts? I don't want you to keep doing the
It
math.
depends what
unless-
the goal is. We do need further cuts if we want to keep under the tax cap, but this is.
I don't think keeping under the tax cap is realistic. It's such a
Yeah,
low
we're
number.
not.
I agree with you. That's my point. This isn't gonna do it, even if that was our goal, we'd have to go a lot further.
That's where I'm going with that. Like,
And that's why I think, that's one of the reasons why I think we should leave it alone. But
I think, I don't want to speak for everybody. I think we're all comfortable with the idea that we may have to go over the tax cap, right? We've been under the
You're
tax
gonna
cap,
go up
we're
over
at the
the tax
tax cap
cap.
for so
It's not-
long.
Unless we completely deplete or come very close to depleting the reserve fund,
And that's,
No way
I
we're
don't
gonna
think
beat the
any of
tax.
us want to do that. I don't think any of us.
there's no way we're gonna meet the tax cap. So I don't think that we should nickel and dime each of these departments, especially something like this.
I'm just my last question would be, would we have any corresponding decrease in revenue we'd have to put in for any, for fines or anything else if we had one less building inspector?
I mean, you're gonna have less people doing the work that needs to be done.
For sure.
I just want to make sure we balance everything correctly.
And we did raise that by $50,000.
Exactly.
Which accounts is that, Des?
The A2555 building,
That's totally permits. I'm talking about fines.
Yeah, the permits, it looks like fines of 5,000, could that be?
Building permits?
fines are completely different. The fines are whatever the judge imposes. So it varies. That also includes false alarm fines that we collect. It's not just building department. So you can't really bank on getting fines because you can't bank on violations being issued or
Yeah, you don't know.
being out there finding the
The
violations.
violations being resolved in time. or-
Correct.
I'm up in the air about it. I'm thinking about the ability for someone new and, but Gary was so familiar with the system to be as productive as Gary, regardless of who you put in there, is gonna be tough.
Well, keep in mind, I mean, John, as he's been trained for the past 4 years to be able to take over Gary's job, would be able to step into that easily. But we'd be replacing, well, really Alex, who would step up, I guess, into John's #2 spot. And we'd have to replace that person that was generating a lot of these fines. So there's some trickle down effects there too.
I'm doing the math, so you have to give me a minute because I have to get onto the state comptroller's website and whatnot. And give me a second. So the amount of taxes that we are allowed to be raising is $7,170,730. And we just, by going back to my comfortable level and then taking away what we just made, we're now going over by $158,105. Which is less than what
I
we,
think that's reasonable.
yes.
What?
I think it is.
Yes,
What?
you are. I mean, we're getting a lot of value for that money, I think, in what we're providing in services. So
And that is 2.205%.
that's
I think that's comfortable for me.
2.20.
Those are rough numbers, obviously, because I'm using my handy dandy
I get it.
calculator.
I'm sorry, that 2 what percent?
2.2, 2.2, 2.21 if you want.
0.9% over the cap. I mean,
I mean,
I
again,
think we can defend that.
and that's with hiring everybody as of June 1st, by the way. So
Right.
that- add that into any of these numbers.
Right.
And that's with the jeans replacement being 40 hours a week. That's just with the cuts we all agreed to tonight without the unknowns. So you could still, even though if you adopt the budget as is, you could still delay those hirings if you choose to do so.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Give us a little bit of a cushion for unexpected expenditures or unrealized revenues. Or I can go further and make those changes accordingly.
I think 2 to 2.25 was a reasonable number. That's what that's where my head has been. And I don't know where you guys have been, but that's what
I totally agree with Chris on that.
Mm.
That's where I was trying to get down to. I mean, I'd love to see it under 2, but I mean, I think this is a good target for us to stick with.
I did,
As your- Go ahead.
I did speak to Pat, so I know that, and not that it's like a drop in the bucket at this point, but I asked him if there was any other monies they could shave off of there. So it was like at least another $5,000 out of the fire department. Because I know when you and I, Desiree, spoke, we thought fire and highway, it was going to be tough to cut any monies out of either of those departments.
Mhm.
So at least, I mean, like I said, adding it to the mix, or we don't have to add it to the mix. But he felt like he could at least there's another $5,000 out of there that we could pull and put back into to help the cause, so to speak. But like I said, at
Did you
this
say where?
no, he didn't say where, but he said, yeah, we could basically, they feel they could pull it from somewhere. So I don't want to take out any reserve, truck reserve funds for them or anything else like that, but so if he's got it, I can go over it with him. He was gonna go over with Chris and they would figure out where they can pull it from. And then I can come back with you and say, hey, listen, we've got another 5,000 we can play with. Like I said, it's not gonna make a difference at the end of the day with any of this.
Not gonna make a whole lot of difference now.
No. So I can either drop it
Drop.
and just say the hell with it, or
Well, it depends. It depends on whether or not you want to evaluate those 4 positions with, and relating to their start dates. Because if we evaluate those 4 positions and we come down enough, that 5,000 may make the difference.
well, I think we
Right.
decided on the water
We'll leave
department
that to the end.
secretarial spot that we're gonna have to hire somebody, so that's not even an option. But if we can look at what 2022 will bring, if we hire somebody at 35 hours a week instead, we could look, I would rather look, or 30 hours a week, and look at the cost savings for that. It's not gonna be a lot of money, but maybe it's 20 grand if we're reducing, and then, like I said, you adding on all the other costs with that, workers' comp, liability, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I'll work up those numbers tomorrow so you have a better idea. Workers' comp, because it's just a clerical, it's really not that significant as opposed to like one of the highway guys or water sewer guys who are more apt, or fire department who are more apt to find themselves in a workers' compensation issue. So it's really mostly your FICA, your MTA, unemployment, whatnot. But I can definitely prepare those numbers for you tomorrow, comparing the 35, 40 and get you a more concrete idea there.
Good work, Desiree. Great work.
Thank you, Andrew. It's very nice of you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna have to make this meeting Desiree week.
Oh, that's
I'm doing
sweet.
a post right now on Village of Woodbury. Hold on.
Don't, you'll make Rob jealous.
Oh, there you go.
All right, so what about the highway department position? Do we want to start June 1? Do we want to start July 1?
Well, if we got the people starting and we already made the number we need to make, I would just leave them alone at this point.
Okay,
And I think we already talked about Blake's position. And I think, like I said, between Tim and CJ and yourself, we made it perfectly clear. We really can't hold off on hiring anybody for the water department either.
because of the
And-
trading.
That's a
Yeah.
gamble.
Training and whatnot. We talked about the highway issue, but also the highway issue. I think that they're going to be knee deep in roads this year, because we didn't have, between the pool and between the COVID last year, we didn't have, how many months did we go without anybody actually working in highway? 3?
About that, but we did catch up on a lot of the roads the latter part of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We are behind on roads, but we're
Behind
not
schedule.
that far.
Culverts were behind schedule on one of those.
well, when they were alternating shift
Mm-hmm.
and do a lot of culvert cleaning out and whatnot,
Yes.
about the building department,
What?
because that one I don't think I got a clear answer on.
Well.
I know we went back and forth.
I don't know. Me personally, hold off till January if we can. But like I said, I'm just one voice, so I don't know what the rest of the board wants to do with that. So
I can kind of put the 20, I would rather put the 2,000 back in for the vehicle maintenance and take the vehicle than the employee at this point.
Right.
And
I
split it in half.
I don't want to delay the start
What if we
date on the
delay?
employee, but we can do without the new vehicle.
what if we delay hiring the new person at least for a couple of months into the new budget cycle? Only to let the new building inspector get himself acclimated and then bring in somebody after that. So they're not training somebody and running the department for the first time. So
All right.
I'm saying to do it in the fall, maybe, not bring somebody else in.
Can I ask a question? Is this the last issue we have to discuss? Because if it is, I'd like to go into an executive session, discuss personnel, so we can get a clear version of where vision is with this department as well.
I'll make that motion.
Oh, we have second.
All in favor? All right, I'll
Aye.
turn off the recording.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, everybody, we're back from executive session with our personnel matter. We're now back in the budget meeting, and I think we're 100% done. So we're going to go ahead and end this budget meeting, awaiting final numbers from Desiree before we make any final decisions.
Excellent.
Anything further? Thank you all and have a pleasant evening. See you in a couple days.
Good night.
Good night all.